that we've never known before, and I think it's going to be interesting.
Well, let's get a business perspective. We got Brian Hamilton. He's the Chief Executive Officer of SageWorks. He joins us now. Brian Hamilton, good to have you with us here on Bloomberg. So, as Corey says, this is a platform. Facebook is a platform for businesses to operate. Have you seen a change in the way businesses do business?
Not too much. As you guys know as well, and especially at Bloomberg, there's been a definite precipitous decline of public companies. About 20 years ago, about 20,000 companies, and it's gone down to about 5,000 companies. But with regard to a couple of the points that Corey made, I agree with him. I think it's a very exciting IPO. You know, when we look at the company, the real exposure on this IPO could be the valuation specifically of the company, guys, because if you look at the revenue of the company, revenue's growing, the margins are probably there, profits are there. We don't know everything yet. They absolutely, Corey's right, they absolutely own the complete space they're in. So the one variable is valuation. And if you look at that valuation compared to Google, it's likely to be very rich. So that exposes people who come in. It definitely needs to be mentioned.
Corey, you mentioned something before that's just sticking in my mind now, privacy. And the company has been private so long. They have had issues in privacy and with privacy around it and with disclosing information. Is this going to, what's going to happen with that?
You know, great irony with that, with, you know, a company that has kept so much, exposed so many other people's secrets, but tried to keep their own. You know, we're going to know a lot more about this company. We're going to know a lot more about how the business works. And, you know, as far as valuations go, and I'm not going to buy a stock. It'd be a conflict. So on some level, I don't care what the value is of the stock. But I really do. I'm really interested in how this business works, what it means to the rest of commerce, and you know, it is a very unique business. It'll also be interesting to see how that business is changing, and both in terms of its size, in terms of the ways it makes money, the growth in advertising, the changes that they made about a year and a half ago now with their Facebook credits program that had such an impact on Zynga's results. I think it's going to be really interesting to see.
Brian Hamilton, the idea that people are going to change the way they invest in advertising companies, indeed the way companies even try to reach customers. Doesn't this augur well for Facebook's future?
Yeah, it does. I don't think they're going to change their business model very much. You know, obviously, it's working real well. Going back to Corey's point, however, though, remember, there's a lot of noise with any IPO. There really is. Putting this in perspective, this company is likely to trade at 18 to 25 times trailing revenues. Google was about 9 times trailing revenues. So again, I don't, keep beating a dead horse here. The valuation absolutely is an issue. The privacy stuff, it's not noise on the screen. They're always going to have it. They're a big data provider. They're housing a lot of our data. We know that. But that's noise on the screen. For a retail investor or for just an investor generally, at the IPO level, when it goes public, you've got to look at valuation. And the rest of it, to me, is, it's relevant. We should talk about it. It's interesting what ticker symbol they have. But what is the value of this stock? Are you buying $1 for $1? Or are you buying you're buying $1, you're paying $4?
Corey, looking at Facebook, they have the penetration levels of users, about 70% from some of the research that I've been looking at. How much more upside potential do they have?
I think we presumably are going to see declining growth rates in a lot of their metrics. But one of the numbers I'm definitely going to zoom in is how do they define how many users they have? Are these active accounts as opposed to accounts people have put up and left there and not used? Is there double counting? Are there people that have multiple? And I know many people have multiple Facebook accounts. We've got a Facebook account for Bloomberg West, and we've all got our own personal Facebook accounts. We've got a couple of professional Facebook accounts. So I think the number of users will be interesting, and the growth in that will be interesting to see as well. And one of my favorite things whenever I'm looking at any company is to look at the breakdown in the segments and the segment reporting that shows which pieces of the business are changing and how. It'll be curious to see if they break some things out for us there.
Corey, who's going to make out in this initial public offering, if indeed we get it? In addition to the employees of Facebook, doesn't Goldman Sachs also win?
Well, Morgan Stanley, the lead banker, will certainly get paid there, and it'll be interesting to see if there is strong retail demand for this, if this helps the piece of Morgan Stanley that was once Smith Barney, the retail side of that. Obviously, who's going to make out? The guys who sell Ferraris down in Silicon Valley, the real estate in the San Francisco Bay Area may benefit a lot from this.
Brian, what could this mean for jobs?
Well, there's been a couple of interesting comments made on that. I thought it was really curious because if you look at the cash that they have on the balance sheet, at least what they're reporting, you look at their margins, I really don't see this company going public to raise cash. I just can't see it. I mean, companies can only grow at a certain rate. So they're really going to be using their profits to basically hire people. So I just don't see them raising $5 billion and going out and tripling their workforce overnight. That's going to come from continued revenue growth. So it's really, they're just going to continue their business model, I believe. And their employee base will grow as a function of their revenue and profits.
I want to thank you both very much. Brian Hamilton, he's the chief executive of SageWork, joining us from Raleigh, North Carolina, and Bloomberg News editor-at-large, Corey Johnson, co-host of Bloomberg West.
You can listen to Taking Stock weekday afternoons at 3 Eastern on Bloomberg 1130 in New York or on Sirius and XM Satellite Radio Channel 113. Copyright 2012 Bloomberg LP.